Welcome everyone. Welcome Mary, another Mary. Um, so we're going to start with a practice, just a practice that we've been doing these 2 weeks. But I just wanted to add something. I just wanted to explain something about motivation. Somebody sent a message after the first meeting we had, and mentioning that the motivation, the altruistic motivation was basically impossible for her, because well, she didn't give reasons, but she said she saw herself, it was basically impossible for her to cultivate this altruistic motivation because there was so, almost like she didn't feel like so many people deserved to be happy because they were doing wrong, and that's perfectly exactly that's the perfect description of why we do the altruistic motivation, because there's three main concepts that we're working, this throughout basically the whole spiritual path comes down to three things, and I'm not very smart, or I have, I just have some very basic experience, but now it piles up. Somebody asked me something, oh, do you remember the other day? And I said, oh, of course I remember, that was 30 years ago. Okay, so 30 years doing something, you kind of form your opinion about things, and you get a basic understanding of things, hopefully. And I have many shortcomings, but I have had something that I mentioned in the past, that I've been extremely blessed with being able to sit and being able to receive with incredible teachers. So if I could say I have a good virtue, is that my teachers are Buddhas. That's the only virtue that I could have. No, so when I think back, all the things that I've heard from them, how can I apply them in basic life things to improve my life, to improve the life of those who I contact with, to improve the life of all sentient beings? It really comes down to three things. It's not so much. I mean, now the Buddha gave 84,000 teachings. You read the Bible, there's so many things. There's infinite number of things. But it really comes down to, number one, awareness of being. Unless there's awareness of being, you can even have mindfulness. You can be very mindful of what you're doing, but unless there's mindfulness of who is doing it, your practice is still always going to be shaky. I mention it all the time. In the Gospel of John 15:4, Jesus says, abide in me as I in you. That's really the summary, the foundation of all our practice. In Kashmir Shaivism, which is extremely beautiful, the first Shiva Sutra says, consciousness is the self. Okay? So once you are aware of your experience of being, that's really the foundation. That's really the essence of all practices. Why? Because if you just do it for a fraction of a second, it's almost like being hungry and dividing a grain of brown rice in 10,000 parts and getting one of those 10,000 parts and expecting that will satisfy your hunger. Okay, so you will taste the brown rice, of course, but you'll still be hungry because it's a very small amount, no? But it's still the same brown rice that if you had eaten the full plate. Okay, I think this is very simple to understand. Yeah. So in the moment that you're listening to me, in the moment that you are doing your practice, in the moment you're doing anything, you're carrying a shopping basket around a store, if there's an awareness of I am doing this, and it's not a selfishness, it's not like a pride, it's just awareness of that aspect of you that is perceiving. Okay, that's what we call awareness of being. Yeah. And this is really the foundation, this is really the essence, this is really the very core of everything else. You might be doing Reiki, you might be doing dream work, you might be doing dowsing, you might be visiting sacred sites, you might be anything, you might be arguing with somebody, you might be going to vote, you might be hating your favorite politician, it doesn't matter. If there's awareness of being, you have the essence of all the spiritual teachings. Anything that everybody is chasing around, looking for any kind of pleasure, looking for any kind of anything, The foundation of all is awareness of being. Why? And this is extremely exquisite. In our tradition, what is said, like basically our tradition has two aspects, the teachings I'm sharing with you. One of them is theistic, has like an idea of God. Okay, the other one is just there's no God. So from the point of view of there's a God, let's say, and this is extremely important that you listen to this and basically memorize this. God is the supreme perceiver. Okay, everything we do, we are able to do because we perceive. Okay, we perceive means we see objects, we hear sounds, we smell, sense, we have sensations, we're aware of our thoughts. Yeah, this is clear, yeah? So there's a perceiver, which is the perceiver that is able to be aware of everything that is happening all the time, everywhere. Yeah? So this is why we call God is a supreme perceiver. So now, I've heard that, quite a few years ago, and I've been reflecting on this because this is really the essence of everything we do. If you're able to connect with your own perception, with your own awareness of being, that awareness of being is the same exact awareness of being that God, that the divine has of itself, is the same awareness of being of an enlightened Buddha, is the same awareness of being of Jesus. There's no difference. It cannot be different, okay? A 10,000 part of a grain of rice and a whole bowl of rice is the same rice. There's no difference. Do you get that? Yeah. So this is the essence. If this is the first essence, if you understand this, you are like, it's like, taking a rocket ship to go somewhere versus trying to be crawling, okay? So then everything you do, you involve this awareness of being. So here there's a difference between just mindfulness, which you can be very focused on an object, or you can be, excuse me, very focused on something that you're doing, and that's important, but you might not be having this awareness of who is the agent, who is doing this. Okay, this is the first essence. Like whatever you do, there's a softness while you're doing it that is just resting on you doing it. And it can be a freaking out moment. You can be doing something that you would prefer not to be doing. You can be maybe yelling at your sister, or you can be doing anything. Okay, you could be doing. You could be shoplifting if you have a shoplifting problem. You could be doing anything. Yeah, but there's no higher form of prayer. There's no most beautiful perfume. There's no more beautiful outfit than awareness of being. Okay. Why? Because that awareness of being, again, is the same awareness that the divine has of itself and through which the divine manifests the life that we experience. So this is super essential. Then, and this is the topic of today's teaching or today's session, once you dwell more and more in this awareness of being, naturally you connect with an aspect of yourself that every time is vaster, is wider. And therefore, naturally, your mind becomes very relaxed, becomes very at ease. It's like a mind that's what we call the welcoming mind. Okay, it's a mind where everything fits. There's no rejection, there's no attachment. Of course, there's preferences, and it's not that it's a passive mind, but it's a mind that can perceive anything and be able to see beyond appearances. But unless you're experiencing this awareness of being and realizing that the being that is encapsulated in your physical body is the same being as universal being, as all being, then it's always shaky. Okay, because then there's always this constant maneuver to defend yourself, to protect yourself. So this is when we lose our temper, or when we try to push things away and we exhaust ourselves, or we try to bring things to our life and we exhaust ourselves imposing our agenda. Okay, so you have awareness of being, then you have this natural welcoming mind that is the byproduct of this. And because it's a welcoming mind, it's just very enjoyable. Imagine you have prepared a party and you're just so happy your guests are coming, and your guests come in all sorts of shapes and forms. one of your friends is happy, one of your friends comes and it's upset, the other one comes and wants to talk politics, the other one comes and is wearing too much perfume, the other one comes and is wearing not enough perfume. It doesn't matter, okay? But you're just so happy that because you realize that all this is just a celebration of life, because your mind is very relaxed, very open, and then everything that comes feels welcome. The beauty of welcoming things is that when you welcome life, and this is somewhere in the text we're going to read now, life welcomes itself. So you act as a mirror, you act as a reflection for other people to embrace themselves. Okay? And this leads you into this way of living life that we call the path of endless beauty, because you have the ability, through remaining present and through experiencing a mind that is welcoming and that is open, to determine in any given situation what is it that you want to focus on. Okay, I know this basic theory is very simple. I was talking to my wife yesterday, in the evening, and she says, "Yeah, I'll get all this." I mean, of course, we all get all. I mean, it's not complicated. I mean, I can explain this to my 6-year-old and he'll get it. Now, are we experiencing this in our day-to-day? Okay, that's the trick. And this is why my teachers, always talk about the same thing. It's very rare that there's a different topic of conversation. Why? Because no matter how many times you hear it, it's a matter of putting it in practice. Okay? So this awareness of life, this awareness of being, it's really the highest of all celebrations. We like celebrations. Yeah, we like parties, we like to entertain, we like all these things. So the highest kind of celebration, the highest kind of entertaining is awareness of being in the present moment. And I know this is not very sophisticated, So I'm sorry that it's not very sophisticated, but this is the very, very essence of everything. Once you embrace this, everything just becomes so much simpler. Yeah. And unless you embrace this, you're always in a constant fight. So that's my experience. Okay. So all this goes to the connection with the idea of the sorry, I'm gonna switch the view. I guess you assume that because this is a Zoom call, your face might be here and there in the video. So if you really don't want to be in the video, yeah, okay, there I am. Looking extra handsome today. Cheers. So you have to have a welcome in mind. Okay. So the idea with the, I assume you hear me all well, yeah? The idea with cultivating this altruistic motivation is that we want to, once you experience this awareness of being and you see that there's this fundamental consciousness that is shared by all beings, and it's not that it's not like we're sharing a plate of rice and everybody gets a grain. It's like we are the ocean that manifests in different ways, but there's one ocean. So naturally your mind becomes very welcoming. Why? Because people come to you, or you see people, or you perceive people on TV, or you perceive situations, and naturally there's a tenderness in your heart for somebody who is behaving in ways that are harming them or harming others. So that's kind of this part of the beauty, like you choose in any given situation to understand, to choose how you want to perceive these people and how you want to support this. So the altruistic motivation is essential, and it's really what brings our practice really to the next level. So cheers to altruistic motivation. Okay, so let's do a little practice. If you have the book with you, let's go to page 10. I hope everybody has been able to practice, what we said last week. It's so simple that, just practicing 3 minutes a day, a couple times a day. So at the beginning of our practice, we connect with our motivation. So there's a personal motivation. So bring to mind your personal motivation for practicing, whatever it is. And here there's no, this is in the intimacy of your own being. So, you know, there's no limit to what you can ask for. It's you working on yourself. And then connect with the feeling. This is the most important thing. Energy follows intention, and intention is made out of sustained attention. This is one principle that the altruistic and the welcoming mind recognizes. So once you determine there's an experience, oh, this is what I want for me, just feel it. How does it feel? You know, let's say you're starting a business, or you have moved somewhere, or anywhere. So what do you want to accomplish with that? You know, how you want your health to be. Just get a feeling of that, and let all your cells of the body, all the cells of your body vibrate with that. And this is really the difference between wishful thinking and engineering your life. It's the ability to sustain your intention in that in which you want. Chi, energy, follows intention. Intention is made out of sustained attention. We're working on cultivating our attention. And then for the altruistic motivation, which is really the root of liberation, of having an extraordinary life, we read the statement, I'm going to practice healing meditation to benefit both myself and all other beings without exception. May my practice generate an infinite ripple of of healing, well-being, and awakening across all time and space. May the illnesses of all beings be healed, and may they never occur again. May my practice bring joy and clarity to all beings, helping all of us become aware of our perfect essence. May we have the courage to recognize the same perfect essence within everyone and everything. May this recognition awaken healing, joy, peace, and love within each of us throughout all of existence. So all this sounds very nice. You know, it's wonderful. I put it together based on several texts of other teachers, of some of my, some of the sadhanas, the practices we do. But really the key essence, and I added myself because I think this is the essence here. May we have the courage to recognize that same perfect essence within everyone and everything, And this is, I think, what anybody who's in the spiritual path like this, it's really the path of sometimes it's called the path of the warrior, yeah? Why? Because it requires a lot of courage to be able to look at somebody who you dislike, or somebody you think is doing something wrong, or somebody who has harmed you or wronged you, and actually recognize that, hey, the same perfect essence that is in me is in you too, and not do this through intellectually, but just stay with the feeling there, until it softens. So this is the essence here. May we have the courage to recognize that same perfect essence within everyone and everything. May this recognition awaken healing, joy, peace, and love within each of us throughout all of existence. And then we're going to observe the breath just for 3 minutes. I'm going to put a timer. I really encourage you, when you practice, put a timer for whatever time. Now I'm just going to put a timer for 3 minutes. And the practice is simply observing the breath coming in and observing the breath going out, nothing else. As soon as you start practicing, the mind just starts fabricating all these things. Feel the breath going out, feel the breath coming in. If you see Jesus, if you see the Buddha, don't pay any attention. If you have light coming down, the practice is the breath going out, the breath going in. Otherwise, every time you see something starts happening, your attention gets distracted. So this is a practice to start cultivating specific, sustaining your attention on the object you choose. Okay, if Jesus comes or the Buddha comes, they can wait 3 minutes. Okay, I'm sure if they come from so far, they can wait 3 minutes. So just for the next 3 minutes, just feel the breath come in and feel the breath go out. Okay, you can start. The breath comes in at your own pace. The breath goes out at your own pace. Nothing else to do. Totally focus on the breath, totally resting on the breath, the feeling of the breath coming in, the feeling of the breath going out. Whatever else comes into your field of perception, just let it be. Keep your attention resting, sustaining the awareness of the breath coming in and the awareness of the breath coming out. Completely focused, completely resting the attention on the feeling of the breath coming in, the breath coming out. Wonderful. So that was 3 minutes. I'm sure you can all realize how much it requires to sustain your awareness on your breath for 3 minutes, maybe even for 3 seconds. So this is the main practice. Then we're going to do the same practice for 3 more minutes, but now instead of just focusing on the breath, first get a sensation of you. Become aware of yourself. Become aware of yourself. Like the easiest way to become aware of yourself is almost if you can turn the senses inwards. You can turn the eyes inwards, the ear inwards. Just become aware of yourself, almost just aware of your awareness within your body. And now, within that awareness, just feel the breath. So you're aware of you, and at the same time, you're aware of you breathing. Can you tell the difference? Yeah? I want to see some thumbs or something. Can you tell the difference between, yeah? Carol, can you tell the difference? Yeah. So this is the difference between being mindful of an object of awareness and being aware of yourself doing something. Okay, so this is when we talk about awareness of being. That's just like the, let's say, the entrance to this. So let's do 3 minutes. The same thing. Now now the thing is, again, become aware of yourself. Become aware of your being, of your body. Become aware of your sensations. And then once you have that awareness, just feel how you're breathing in and out. With every breath, softer. As you breathe in and out, being aware of your being aware of yourself, breathing in and out, there's naturally a softening, a softness that happens. That's the door into the welcoming mind. You're just letting the breath come in, letting the breath go out with no judgment. There's no judging, I should change my breath should be this or that. Just feel the breath come in, be aware of the breath, be aware of yourself, aware of the breath, and feel the breath going out. Be aware of yourself with awareness of the breath. This is making every breath a prayer. Without having to pray, without having to say anything. Just awareness of being while breathing. So that was 3 minutes again. Now I'll ask you to do something very simple. Whatever you are, doesn't matter, in your house, whatever you are, maintain this awareness of being, and maintaining this awareness of being, just stand up and go to the next room, or just walk, for 10-15 seconds around the house, maintaining the awareness of being. The idea here is for you to realize how different it is to just pace around your house, running like a chicken without a head, doing all wonderful things to support your family, versus living with awareness of being. So just stand up, and with awareness of being, just go to the next room and just come back in a few seconds. Don't go too far, don't go too near. So I don't mean to be annoying, okay? If I'm annoying, it's okay, it's part of the exercise. Just stand up with awareness of being and sit in your chair again with awareness of being, because very often what happens, you go out, walk a little bit, but at the time of sitting, awareness is gone. Sit again, sit like mindfully that you are sitting. And that can be done quick, that can be done slow, it doesn't matter, but I just want to make sure everybody, and if somebody's not getting it, you can just, you know, chat or unmute. Do you get the difference of having awareness of being versus doing the same thing with no awareness of being? Is everybody getting this? Yes? Okay. So this is it. I mean, if we could just stop our call now, and basically there's really nothing else, you know. There's a beautiful, it's called the King of Samadhi Sutras, which Samadhi means just the state of contemplation. And one of the Buddhist scriptures, it says, more valuable than making offerings to all the Buddhas of all the universes with gold and jewels and the most exquisite treasures for all eternity is one single moment of awareness of being. Yeah. So, you know, I know you all, and I know you're all very good people, have a great heart, that, you know, as far as I can tell from what I know here. So awareness of being is what's going to bring you to the next level. You know, so this is like, this is essential. So I'm hammering this to the point of, you might not want to talk to me anymore, but if you can remember one thing, you know, remember awareness of being. That's the narrow gate. You know, Jesus says, narrow is the gate. Okay, see, this is the narrow gate. Like, this is the secret of secrets. This is a secret hidden in the treasure, in the heart of the wise. Why? Because externally, there's no difference. Like, I can be here dispersed, or I can be here totally present, and you cannot really tell, you know? I mean, you might be able to tell after I interact a little bit. So this is the secret of secrets, the treasure of treasures hidden in plain sight. So this is really the essence of it all. Why? Because, and again, I know, you know, I'm going in circles here, but this is so essential. Once you are able to experience this awareness of being, naturally, you become more relaxed because you can perceive the essence of things, and therefore you realize that in this life that we experience, there's really no gain or loss, but cultivating a loving heart. You know, like nobody who has ever died has taken anything physically with them, you know, and nobody who has ever attained enlightenment and has talked about it has wished, oh, I wish I had worked harder, I wish I had made more money, I wish I had been nastier to others. Yeah, I wish I had started one more war. Yeah, no, when you talk to people who, you know, seem to have some stable awareness of being, they just talk about being nice to each other, you know, about loving others, about supporting others, about being of service, you know. And you can only be of service to yourself and others at the amount of level that you overcome this maneuver of attachment and rejection. Yeah, rejecting others, even if it's very slightly, you know, even if it's very much in disguise. So that's for that. I hope that's very clear. Otherwise, I'll start talking about it again. Is it clear? Yeah, this is the essence of it all. So, okay. Are there any questions? Okay, I see you all got it all. Okay. So we're going to start with chapter 1. The Lord, I mean this quote just at the beginning of chapter 1 by 3, page 18. There's no page. I love this quote. I've been reading this quote and reflecting on it. The Lord formed man, and you know, the story is the story. So we just, okay, man. So we just say man, but that's, okay. It's just a story. The Lord formed man of the dust of the ground, you know. If the Lord had formed men, directly would have been out of, women would have been out of jewel powder or some sort of diamonds or something. Okay, so he made a guy out of dust. Very telling. Anyway, that's a bad joke. The Lord formed man of the dust of the ground, which basically means form, and breathed into his nostrils and his face the breath and spirit of life, and man became a living soul. So this is so packed, and the next text, the breath of life, unpacks this. But if you want to unpack it very quickly, is basically your breath is the direct link to the divine 22,000 times a day, every single breath. Years ago, I was in India and I was learning to Bansuri flute, this bamboo flute, Indian flute. And my teacher one day said, make every breath a prayer. He was talking about, how the softness of the notes, and, he's a great player. So there was a softness to it that you could tell. He was very beautifully, very present. But that struck with me, make every breath a prayer, and then this. So every single breath, let's take this at face value, okay? So the Lord formed Adam, and then breathed into his nostrils and his face, That breath is exactly the same breath that you're receiving right now. Since we started talking, 40 minutes ago, you've breathed, 300 times, 400 times, whatever. Every single of those breaths is the divine blowing awareness in your being, is the divine blowing well-being in your being, is the divine blowing vitality in your being. Do you get how incredible this is? Every single breath, we are begging, we are like doing the impossible to experience plenitude, to experience wholesomeness, to experience a sense of completeness. Yet, every single breath is giving us our sense of completeness. Do you get this, Carol? Sorry, she's in front of me here on the computer. So we do many things, and it's incredible. I do many things too, and I love to do them. But then when I reflect at the length at which I've lived in my life, like Ellen, Gary, and I, co-wrote this book, Where Heaven and Earth Unite, and at the beginning of the conversation, this is something that is pointed out, like some of us have gone these incredible lengths, like taking days to travel, like planes, cars, then hiking for hours, sleeping in remote places in the mountains, to have an experience of the divine, and the divine is blowing in our nose every single moment, many times, Does that mean that we don't have to go to these places? No, of course. We go to these places because we love it, because it's fun, and because, the frequencies in these places make it much easier, this. But every single minute, it's 12 moments of awakening. You get it, yeah? You get because I'm so pumped about this? So this is exquisite, Okay? So let's go to page 19. The breath of life. Just so beautiful, the breath of life. So just feel your breath, the breath of life. The breath of physical life, the breath of emotional life, the breath of the mind, the breath of all life is this single breath. And now another obvious thing that, unless you really reflect on these things, you don't notice, Nothing is more fundamental. I'm reading on the top of page 19. Nothing is more fundamental to living and healing than breathing. Yeah. Usually we don't think of this, yeah? Food, clothing, relationships, money, fame, and everything else in our lives are secondary to breathing. Simply put, no breathing, game over. Yeah. we do so much, you know, to look good and to sound good and to do all these things. And the most fundamental thing of all is breathing. Yeah. Why? Because breathing gives you physical life. And this is why I love this quote. There's, you know, if depending on the Bible that you read or you consult, usually they only say, the Lord formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, you know. But there's a version, I think there's the Geneva version, 1569 or something like that. I don't have the reference here. This was fascinating for me because added, breathe into his nostrils and his face, okay? Meaning into his awareness. So when you receive the breath of life, you receive the physical vitality, the chi, the Chinese talk, the prana, the Indian talk, you know. But you also receive your sense of consciousness. You receive your awareness. So this breath that you are breathing, this breath that you are holding is also your awareness. So again, this is extremely, extremely, extremely important. And this is also extremely rare. These kind of things that we're sharing now are things that are not commonly discussed. You know, you might go to a yoga class and you hear many good things, or, you know, but this fine-tuning to the sense of your awareness. So let me break this down again. The Lord formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils and his face. So basically the Lord, divine awareness, creates form and enlivens this form physically and transfers divine consciousness. Okay, so far it's clear up to here. Yeah, I really want you to get this, not only to get it, but really to realize. So why is the importance of awareness of being? Because when you're aware of being, you are aware of the consciousness that the divine has put in you, which is actually divine consciousness. So when you're aware of being, you're actually aware of divine consciousness. So when you're aware of being, if you're a Christian, you're aware of God. When you're aware of being, if you're a Hindu, you're aware of Shiva, you're aware of, you know, if you're a Taoist, you're aware of the Tao. If you're a Buddhist, you're aware of the Buddha nature, the Buddha, the mind of the Buddha. Okay. Do you see how this is so important? Because if you get this, your practice is going to be totally transformed. I'm assuming that, you know, this for some of you is relatively new or it's not really clear. Okay, so I hope I'm not boring anybody. So if you're getting bored, you can either chat, or there's a red button there that says end, so you can end me. From birth, who we are and our breath are one and the same. Breathing keeps us alive and defines us. We live as we breathe as we live. So the next 80 pages of the book, we're going to unpack these two exercises. The fuller our breath, the more life in our life. So fuller doesn't mean like, you know, to hyperventilate. Okay, you can be hyperventilating and still not have a fuller breath. What fuller means is, number one, physically a breath that is satisfying. Thank you, Helena. And that's how I feel too, you know. So the fuller our breath. So when you think of breath, again, think of vitality and think of consciousness. So one way to develop a fuller breath is to exercise. You know, last night with Brooke, we went for a brisk walk at night, and yeah, I mean, you feel, wow, you know, the vitality naturally, because your breath is fuller, you've won faster, you know, you've done your exercise, okay? But the type of fullness that we're talking here is the awareness of being, yeah? The fuller our breath, the more life in our life. Why? Everybody likes, I mean, I personally don't like to entertain. I think I'm too selfish to work so much to bring people, you know, so, but, you know, I know a lot of you like to entertain. And it's such a wonderful thing. But if you really want to entertain at this level of fuller, is through welcoming things in your field of experience, whatever it is. You know, you can be entertaining, you can be hosting a party, but you can be completely stressed out, you know. Yet you can be at the store and just smile at somebody, at the cashier, completely aware of their presence, you know, completely aware of they maybe did something that, you know, showed that they are having a hard time or whatever it is, you know. That's really entertaining. That's entertaining divine consciousness to divine consciousness, you know. Of course, keep hosting your parties in your house, you know, that's wonderful. And I'll be happy to go there and eat. Okay. But there's this other kind of entertaining, this other kind of relating to others that can be done any single moment, you know. And once you're aware of being, and once your breath is fuller, once your consciousness is fuller, you naturally encounter people, you know, your spouse, a sibling, you know, co-worker, you know, somebody gives you the finger on the street when you're driving, whatever. And if there's awareness of being and the mind is more welcoming, you naturally don't react in a way that later you're going to regret. Naturally, you are more calm and you can actually perceive beyond that, you know. So this is very essential. If we understand our breath to be a precious and magical treasure, we awaken its power to reward us with rejuvenation, healing, longevity, abundance, and growth in all aspects of our human experience. What this means is like the breath is an automatic system that functions as survival mechanism, okay? And you can equate this to a relationship, you know, in the past and still to these days, many relationships, many marriages are just out of survival, you know, like a man, a husband needed a wife needed a husband to survive, to have kids, to work on the farm, whatever it was, you know, for the species to continue. And there's a practicality to that, you know. But now you can have a relationship that is very loving, yeah, and very fun, and very when you enjoy a lot of intimacy, and there's this you know, sense of friendship, and it's a very different kind of relationship. Okay, both relationships have a place, you know, and obviously even the relationships that are very loving also goes through up and down, you know. That's, but you get the point, yeah. So it's not enough with breathing. Of course, breathing is the first one, but there's a lot of people breathing, doing all sorts of crazy stuff out there, you know, like Hitler was breathing all right, yeah. You know. So once you bring your awareness to the breath, and once through awareness of being, you just expand the experience of who you are, realizing that you are not this physical body, you're not your story that you have to defend. There's this openness, there's this welcoming experience that happens in your body. And then naturally you navigate your life as somebody who is experiencing this ocean of beauty. Yeah. Intertwined. Oh no, this is very beautiful. Yeah. I think these 2 pages, you know, 19 and 20, really, it's something that is worth reading a few times and seeing, because this really contains the essence of the whole book. Despite appearances, well, let's put it in a practical way. Let's say you want your business to grow. You know, you're starting a business, or you just graduated from college and you don't know what to do, or you just retired, anything, you know. Spending time every day just cultivating awareness of yourself breathing is tapping in the storage, like where you keep the grain, and you know, like in the pantry of the divine, you know. Like you spend a few minutes, whatever you can, 3, 5, 10 minutes, whatever you can, just with no intention of creating anything, just awareness of being and connection to the breath. That's literally the highest thing that then you can do to work on any projects you are working, okay? Because you are suffusing any kind of project you're doing later, okay? So that's very practical there. This sentence is very meaningful. Despite appearances, breathing is not a mechanical, impersonal process. Breathing is an aware, dynamic, living pulsation shared by all beings. Even rocks breathe, you know. Everything has a breathing rhythm. Everything has this dynamic pulsation. Everything is, at a more fundamental level, breathing is just atoms pulsating, moving, you know, atoms of different, you know, neutrons, protons, all these things in vibration. That's also a form of breathing. So, you know, this little thing, this is an iPod, you know, so this thing. Everything that you see, it's in constant vibration, is in constant motion. So despite appearances, this is one aspect, like you think I am breathing, but my experience is not so much I am breathing, because even when I don't remember to breathe, breathing is happening. You know, even if you hold your breath, you try to hold your breath, at some point something is just pushing your breath in, okay? So I don't think we're breathing as much as we're being breathed in. I don't know if that's a word in English, but you get the point, yeah? So the divine is constantly infusing, okay? Infusing. So this is when you relax in awareness of being and you allow that breath of life. For one, you realize that this aware of this presence is aware, and then it's this dynamism of everything that exists and this living pulsation shared by all beings. Okay. So if you don't know what you and your favorite politician have in common, two things. One of them is the desire for happiness. Okay, all sentient beings want to be happy, even if they are attempting to achieve this happiness through methods that we may not approve or we don't think, you know, should be done. And the other one is the breath. Okay, so this beautiful breath, the breath of life. It is the breath of life we breathe. Intertwined and inseparable, our breathing and the spirit of life are one and the same. They arrive together, exist together, and journey together, pulsating from and to our worldly and universal experiences. So, you know, let's say you join this class or you join these sessions because, you know, you want to learn meditation, okay? So basically, meditation can be just defined as abiding in this pulsating reality between your worldly experience and your universal experience, you know? So the breath comes in and you feel this connection with your body. The breath goes out and you feel this sense of expansiveness. The more you can consciously experience this beautiful pulsation, the more you are in line with the source of all life. And therefore, anything that you are aiming at developing and unfolding is going to unfold better, you know. The deeper our experience of our breath, the more intimate our communication with our breath, the greater our reverence and devotion for our breath. You know, people have devotion for many things. You know, people have devotion for Justin Bieber or Madonna, or, you know, or for I was going to say the Lions, but not the Lions. The not the Lions, certainly. People have devotion for many things, no? Messi, anything, you know. And people have faith in many things. You know, people have faith that the system will support anything. So if you develop this true sense of devotion, when you feel the breath coming in and coming out, you realize this breath, and I'm not exaggerating, like this breath is the expression of the divine. This breath is the source of my life. This breath is the breath of life. And now you are breathing. And this is the difference between the practice that was suggested here in the introduction, and that, you know, the 3-minute observing the breath, and the next practice, which is breathing the breath of life. Now you're not just breathing the breath as just, you know, an amount of, you know, air with oxygen and, you know, stuff that comes in and out, some gases that come in and out. Now you are embodying the divine, the divine dynamic pulsation of life. And therefore there's a reverence, you know. Like if a breath is just a breath, it's just a breath. But now if you are a devoted Christian or Catholic or a devoted, you know, Hindu or something, and they tell you, and God comes and gives you the breath, now you would treasure that very much, yeah? I had a wrist band that, you know, Garchen Rinpoche, one of my teachers, gave me. And it was just one of these plastic wristbands, you know, that have with different, you know, whatever. It was just a Buddhist mantra. And it was so funny because I could observe myself, like, if you had come to my house and taken anything from the house, I would have given you my computer, anything, the kids, but don't take that band away from me, you know, because it was given by my teacher. I was observing myself and saying, this is very telling, and at the same time it's completely bizarre because it's just a plastic, you know, it has no value, you know. But the value is in the connection, the value is in the contact, the value is in how you treasure the message, you know. So from now on, when you think of your breath, from now on, the next 2 weeks, we're going to be doing this exercise, the breath of life. Every breath is the divine. It's, if you believe in God, it's God. If you want Jesus, whatever you want, you know, it's giving you, and it's giving you, and it's giving you. And then there's this incredible, so the mind is welcoming because abides in presence and welcomes the breath and says, wow, this breath is the divine itself. And then the mind, the welcoming mind, the next characteristic is this incredible sense of gratitude. You know, you have this beautiful life, you have this beautiful body through which you can, you know, make love with your lover, cuddle with your grandchildren, plant your garden, do whatever you do with your body, okay? And it's kept alive by this breath, yeah? Not by the tomatoes you grow, not by, you know, whatever you get at Whole Foods. Yeah, to some degree, you know, that fits your body a little bit, but it's the breath. I mean, there's no negotiation here, okay? So now, look at your breath. Be aware of you looking at your breath, which is basically meaning the divine, which is your consciousness, aware of its own generosity with itself. And this is your temple. This is the highest of the highest. This is the sacred of the sacred. Just keep that sense of reverence, keep that sense of devotion, keep that sense of faith towards the breath, and realize why we work on our altruistic motivation, because the same breath that is breathing on you is breathing if you have one on your worst enemy. The same breath that is breathing on you is breathing on the worst of the worst politicians. You know, it's the same breath. There's no two breaths, there's no two divines, you know, there's no two consciousness, you know. Diversity is necessary, of course, because that's how we enjoy life. You know, if there were 6,000 billion people in this planet exactly like me, it would not only be a disaster, it would be like very boring, you know. Okay, nothing would ever get done. We'll just be always burning incense and you know, observing the breath. Okay, but the essence of it all is like the ocean. All the waves share the ocean. Yeah. And therefore your heart just becomes soft and tender, and then the altruistic motivation makes sense. Why? Because you want everybody to wake up to this same realization, so we just all get along well, even with our differences. You know, contrast is necessary, and so people will be more, you know, liberal, and so people will be more conservative. It depends on your experiences. That's really secondary. But there's a loving tenderness in one's heart. You know, there's a softening of one's agenda. Why? Because there's nothing else to defend. You know, you got the highest of the highest, you know, you want this experience of your own awareness. Nobody can take that away from you. There's this, I did the research, I could not find it, but there's Mark Dyczkowski, one of our teachers, you know, several times he's mentioning classes that he was in Israel many years ago, and you know, he was friends with some of the rabbis there, and there was a conversation about the Holocaust and these things, and they say that one of the most beautiful experiences that was passed around them was these tracks of rabbis being sent into the gas chambers, and while they were singing praises to God. You know, these people knew clearly what was happening, and there were tears of joy in their eyes, singing praises to God. You know, so you might say, well, the story doesn't apply. I think applies very much, because every single moment, regardless of the outer appearances, once you connect with the experience of the breath, that profound union, then you realize that you're the ocean, you know, not the waves. You realize that you're the sky, not the clouds. You realize that you are the divine itself, not the physical bodies who are going to suffer harm, you know. And of course, you would like to stay longer in this physical plane to enjoy your family and to enjoy your friends, and to do whatever you like to do. But ultimately, there's no fear, you know. So, and that's a very exquisite experience. And that's where this paragraph is pointing at, the idea of the deeper our experience of our breath, the more intimate our communication with our breath, the greater our reverence and devotion for our breath, the more unshakable our faith in our breath, the more we come to know ourselves as the divine life abiding within our constantly changing physical form. Everything else is changing, and your breath has still been always here. You know? Your awareness of being has always been here. I'm going to skip a couple of paragraphs. In page 20, the second paragraph, it says, oh, this is very beautiful. Yeah, I put the words down, but it's so nice. I imagine it happens to anybody, you know, who writes something and then you read it and says, how did it come about? No, it's like, I'm sure Ellen and those of you who, Gary, those of you who write, and there's an exquisiteness to this, thanks to, you know, all of you who help with editing. Through awareness of the breath of life in our body and mind, our nostrils and our face, our senses, we mingle our earthly and heavenly lives. Realizing that our breathing is the breath of life, we recognize that our I am experience is the inner divine flame of all existence, the wish-fulfilling jewel that grants us the power to be and the ability to act. This is worth to read a few times, because realizing that our breathing, both the actual breath and the sense of self-awareness, is the breath of life, this dynamism of life. We recognize that our I am experience, and this has nothing to do, there's no pride, oh, I am better than you. This happens before any kind of adjective or any kind of other verb, you know, I'm doing this. No, it's just this experience of being, you know. It's like plain being. This is what everybody craves, you know. When you have a little chocolate, you know, or you are making love to your lover and you have beautiful orgasm, or whatever, you know, you do bungee jumping, whatever you do, you know. I've not done it, but I've been told, yeah, people who do it, there's a point where there's just this sense of aliveness that requires nothing to be added, you know. So that's being, yeah. We recognize that our I am experience is the inner divine flame of all existence. That's the ocean. You know, that's what the rabbis are chanting to. You know, that's what Jesus says, abide in me as I in you. He's not saying, you know, the world is not real, you know, saying there's an external world and there's an inner world, and you unite them, and then you have the divine world. The wish-fulfilling jewel that grants us the power to be and the ability to act. You know, most of us, based on what I gather in my own life and based on what I gather in all the beautiful conversations that I have here in our office with many people every week, most of us do things by doing things. We think, okay, by working hard, all this will happen, and by doing things, and obviously you have to put work, and you know, otherwise things don't come about. But if your consciousness abides in a state of alignment with this divine consciousness, that's what we call the wish-fulfilling jewel. Because from there you act in a way that is more natural, that is much less resistant. You act from the welcoming mind, and you are much more relaxed. You know? You enjoy things much more. Conscious of our breathing as an endless process shared among countless beings. You know, talk about a humbling process. Talk about a process. Talk about a realization that, you know, takes all your specialness and all your, you know, sense of worldly pride away. Realizing that actually what keeps you alive, the very basis of your life, is something that is shared by all sentient beings, even those who you think are completely despicable. You know, you reflect on that, and that's exquisite, you know, because it makes everything so much simpler. You know, okay, there's no need to impress anybody else anymore. There's no need to kill myself to kind of fulfill everybody's desires. It's like, it's just so much simpler. We understand that every breath we breathe can turn into a wave of well-being and awakening that benefits all, guiding each of us to the remembrance of our collective divine nature. This is again where the altruistic motivation comes in, because you realize that, and you realize that actually, so there's this divine breathing, you know, that's shared by all beings, and it comes inside of you and connects with your vibration, with whatever vibration you are holding, and then that vibration radiates again out through the breath, you know. So when the vibration that you're holding is a vibration of joy, is a vibration of welcoming, is a vibration of love, is a vibration of enjoying beauty, even in the most difficult of situations. You know, I think I mentioned the other day, my neighbor was cutting the grass, and he was carrying his gun. You know, this is Michigan, militias, okay? So like 3 houses down, so I'm riding my bicycle, and obviously me being from Spain, I say, wow, what the crap? This guy is cutting the grass, carrying a gun, you know? I've never saw a gun basically until that day so close, you know? So me that I'm very curious, I stop my bicycle, hey, how are you, man, doing? You know? So we start talking for a while, and then after, you know, the conversation is a bit cool, I say, wow, you're carrying your gun, yeah? And, you know, so he's super proud of telling me about his gun, and, you know, it's his new gun, and he's carrying it because, you know, he believes that the Second Amendment is the second, one of the amendments. I don't know which one it is, you know? Yeah. And, you know, that the Constitution of Michigan and the government. I said, sure, okay, that's very cool. And then he realizes what I'm after, you know? He says, would you like to hold it, you know? And I say, of course, I love to hold your gun. So, you know, he has the bullets are on his other side, you know? So he gives me his hand. It's a beautiful gun. Okay, I've never held a gun before. It's pretty heavy. It's like, you know, brand new, and it has all these like shiny things, and it has a super nice like weight, you know. So he's showing me how to hold it, and he don't put the finger here, you know. And it's a beautiful moment. You know, the colors of it were beautiful. The wind was beautiful. It's a fantastic afternoon. So obviously, you know, I mean, the gun, there was nobody dead on the floor, but with this, what I'm saying is like, I could have driven by my bicycle and say, man, another one of these guys, whatever, you know. The welcoming mind is a mind that is curious, you know, and it's curious because it knows that you can find beauty in everything. In a puddle of blood, you can say, wow, this is a beautiful red. You know, the other day this lady came, I had to have some blood drawn for, you know, life insurance things, yeah. And she hurt me so bad. I don't think she was very skilled, you know what I mean? But then immediately, like, the blood starts coming out, this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Spanish red blood, okay? Like Rioja, okay? So the welcoming mind is a mind that is able to, in obviously these two situations are just random situations, it's not dramatic, but in any situation, the welcoming mind is able to abide in presence, realize the wonderfulness. Even in this situation, I'm breathing. Even in this situation, the universe is vibrating. Even in this situation, divine consciousness is present, you know. Whatever the situation is, a situation that can be terrible. And there's this profound sense of gratitude. Why? Because, you know, when there's gratitude, your vibration naturally rises, and anything that comes in touch with you. So what is my prayer? Okay, may this gun be never be shot. Yeah, you know. So then there's a reframing where may all beings be happy. Yeah, you know. So you can, anything that comes into you, into your field of awareness, if there's awareness of being, you can welcome it, you can relate to it, you can try to understand it, and then you can reframe it. Yeah. So that's extremely beautiful. So for this remembrance, okay, of our collective divine nature, as we gradually realize that it's not just the life of our life we breathe, but the life of all life, we also realize that everyone and everything are a part of us. And here is where the courage comes into place. You know, here is where this opening, this open mind comes into place, because there's no out there. There's really no out there. If you realize that, you know, everything is consciousness, there's no out there. There's a physical experience where the senses perceive objects that are separate, so you can interpret things, but there's really no out there. You know, it's one field of vibration. We also realize that everyone and everything are a part of us. Aware that the breath of life connects everything and everyone, we understand that when we judge, criticize, or harm others, we're actually judging, criticizing, and harming ourselves. Through experiencing our breath as the life of life, sooner or later, more or less gracefully, we learn to soften and to love ourselves, life itself, unconditionally. And we become the light of this world. So it's very beautiful also in the Bible, no? Jesus says, you are the light of this world, yeah? The way I understand that, that doesn't mean you have to be around preaching stuff. I mean, preaching is pointless, you know? Now, can you embody this experience of unconditional love where everything that comes into your field of experience is welcome? Yeah, of course, you have to wrestle with things, and, you know, I'm constantly wrestling internally with myself with, you know, how you reframe things, okay? I was about to cancel, to postpone this session, because I said, I had a, you know, the last 2-3 days, I was feeling completely unqualified to share anything after seeing the amount of yelling I was doing on my kids. You know? So I said, man, okay. But then I put it into perspective. So it's not a matter of, you know, everything is going to be perfect from now on. It's going to be perfect by you constantly going back to this awareness of being, connecting with the experience of the breath, and anything that you experience, just welcome it. And then going from there, realizing this gratitude, and then reframing it. I hope this is helpful. According to this comment that somebody put here, is helpful. So the practice, how to practice all this, you know? So the first practice was just the first practice, the first coaching strategy that I suggested last week was, usually coaching strategies are aimed at concrete objectives, know how to improve our relationship, how to get a better job, how to make more money, how to, okay? But here we're going to the very, very fundamental, which is awareness of being. With that awareness of being, you know, the other coaching strategies that we're going to be covering are not so important. And so the next thing, there's awareness of being, and then just the mind is welcoming. So my suggestion of practice for you, now we'll do a final practice with the breath, but my suggestion of practice for you for the week is just maintain this awareness of being, like the way we practiced when I ask you to walk around and stand up, and just cultivate as much as you can that awareness of being. And from that awareness of being, cultivate a mind that is welcoming. And just to summarize it very simple, welcoming is a mind that doesn't react into attaching to what it wants, one's points of view, and rejecting others' points of view. It's a mind that is welcome, is a mind that is not reactive, that is not just, oh, okay, let's see. And that can actually fall back, and anything that comes is related to that from that point of view. That does make sense? Okay. So the practice, the actual meditation practice that we're going to do is, again, the practice, the breathing, the breath of life. So we start our healing meditation journey becoming aware of our breathing. That's what we did. Awareness of breathing is awareness of our life. Awareness of our life is awareness of the magic of the divine and a delightful highway to healing and well-being. So the last sentence of this paragraph explains the practice. The difference is that now we breathe with awareness that we are breathing, okay? So you're not just observing the breath. So now the object of attention is you breathing. Okay, these things I have already explained. So the directions, the first direction is the key. Without attempting to change anything, bring your attention to your breathing. Be aware of your breathing as the air comes in. Be aware of your breathing as the air goes out. Keep observing your breathing for 3 minutes. So this is the first official practice of the book. So let's just do it. During the week, you would read the personal motivation, the altruistic motivation, and then you would read, you would do the practice and then read the dedication. So let's read the altruistic motivation, and then we'll do the practice. This is on page 11 if you have the book. I'm going to practice healing meditation to benefit both myself and all other sentient beings without exception. May my practice generate an infinite ripple of healing, well-being, and awakening across all time and space. May the illnesses of all beings be healed, and may they never occur again. May my practice bring joy and clarity to all beings, helping all of us become aware of our perfect essence. May we have the courage to recognize the same perfect essence within everyone and everything. May this recognition awaken healing joy, peace, and love within each of us throughout all of existence. So then become aware of yourself as you are breathing. And we are just going to start with 3 minutes. When you do the practice, you can practice as long as you want, at least 3 minutes. So just feel yourself breathing in and out. In whichever form your breath comes in and out. and then go to page 11. And after the practice, we do the dedication, which is essential. The dedication is really what seals the benefit of the practice and makes it available for all sentient beings. By the merit of having practiced healing meditation for the benefit of myself and all other beings, may all beings without exception be well and happy. May there be peace in all lands, prosperity in all households, and joy in all hearts, across all time and space. And may all the motivation prayers made for the well-being of beings become a reality. And then feel this beautiful joy, knowing that all beings without exception, especially those that, according to your own points of view or according to, your experiences, might be needing more, this shower of awareness, of a welcoming mind. May they receive this. And may they also connect with your experience of being. And be able to manifest the welcoming mind in a way that generates benefit for themselves and for others. And the finest healing energies across all universe, just showering on all sentient beings, showering on this beautiful earth. So, harmony and well-being and a good life for all sentient beings without exception. A life of respect, a life of support, a life of challenge too. But from love and from understanding, from openness. Is reestablished on earth. And this is very beautiful. So the welcoming mind, I just want to clarify one point. The welcoming mind is not a mind that everything goes and everything is good. I mean, it's obvious that many behaviors come from a point of view of intense self-grasping, of intense selfishness and intense self-hatred. That's not a question. That's not. I guess that's obvious. But from the point of view of oneself, just welcoming with openness whatever comes into whatever's experience because it's manifested, and then relating to that from a point of view of openness, it's gonna free resources for us to make a deeper impact. Okay, I guess that's clear, yeah? Wonderful. So it's so nice to see you all. I'm gonna stop this recording.